December 1998. Space Shuttle Endeavour connects the first components of the International Space Station. An astronaut takes a photo looking back at Earth. In the frame, a dark, angular object drifts above the blue planet. No visible wings, engine, or clear skies. Just a black silhouette. The internet gave this object a name, Black Knight. Then it gave it a backstory. Supposedly, it was a space probe from the Epsilon Boötis star system that had been monitoring Earth for nearly 13,000 years. Tesla picked up its signal, radar tracked it, an astronaut saw it firsthand, and NASA finally photographed it. But did all of these really belong to the same object? Dark archive. We reopened seemingly closed files, using the remaining evidence. First, let's lay out the theory in its strongest form, without dismissing it. According to the narrative, an advanced civilization sent an automated observation craft to Earth, just as humanity was learning to write. The craft settled into a polar orbit and waited silently. Centuries passed. Once humans began using radio, the craft revealed itself, sometimes sending signals, sometimes appearing on radar screens, and sometimes caught on camera. Now, imagine placing a thick folder on the table. It bears a single title, Black Knight. But opening the folder reveals 9 separate documents. Tesla's experiment, long-delayed radio echoes, old newspaper reports, a British rocket, Cold War radar, an astronaut rumor, a star map interpretation, the 13,000-year claim, and the NASA photograph. We will unpack these documents one by one. The first document takes us to Colorado Springs in 1899. Nikola Tesla is conducting wireless communication experiments using massive coils and sensitive receivers. One night, he records regularly repeating electrical pulses. He thinks they might come from another planet, perhaps Mars. Back then, knowledge of natural cosmic radio sources was very limited, making Tesla's curiosity understandable. But Tesla never said Black Knight. He never claimed to have seen a satellite in Earth's orbit. He made no mention of Epsilon Boötis or 13,000 years. The source of the pulses he recorded remains uncertain. Atmospheric events, earthly broadcasts, or unknown natural sources are all possibilities. A real observation took place, but the bridge to the modern legend was built later. The second record is truly intriguing. In 1927 and 28, Norwegian radio operator Jørgen Hals noticed that certain shortwave signals echoed seconds later. Carl Stormer and Balthasar van der Pol conducted experiments. Echoes delayed by 3, 8, and 15 seconds were recorded. Compared to normal radio reflections, these delays were extraordinarily long. Known as long-delayed echoes, this isn't fiction. It's a real radio phenomenon documented in scientific literature. Explanations included unusual paths through the ionosphere and magnetosphere, signal looping, rebroadcasts, or equipment artifacts. No single mechanism explains every case. But does being unable to explain it automatically mean it's an alien satellite? No. The third piece of evidence consists of newspaper reports published 3 years before Sputnik. UFO researcher Donald Keyhoe claimed that the U.S. Air Force had detected 2 unknown satellites orbiting Earth. It sounds compelling. What was in orbit before humanity's first artificial satellite? The fourth record reveals not an alien, but a British rocket. A real program run by the UK between 1958 and 1965 was named Black Knight. Used to test re-entry vehicles, these rockets never put a permanent satellite into orbit. The exact link between the conspiracy narrative's name and the rocket program remains unknown. But at least we can see this. The mysterious name was already floating around. Document 5 is from 1960. American tracking systems detect an unidentified dark object in a near-polar orbit. In the middle of the Cold War, the initial suspicion is a secret Soviet satellite. The story grows. Then, the Department of Defense explains the object as orbiting debris from a failed Discoverer mission. The initial news was mysterious. The correction was as dull as a piece of rocket debris. You can guess which one the internet kept. The sixth document connects to Gordon Cooper. Supposedly, during the 15th orbit of his 1963 Mercury flight, the astronaut spots a green or dark object, confirmed on radar by an Australian tracking station. No such conversation or confirmation exists in the mission's communication logs. While Cooper did later speak about other UFO incidents, this doesn't validate the Black Knight story retroactively attached to his Mercury mission. We've laid out all 6 documents. Tesla really did record signals. Long-delayed echoes were indeed observed. Newspaper reports were actually published. Radar really did detect an object it couldn't initially identify. That's why the theory is convincing. Its pieces aren't completely made up. But we still don't know where the 13,000 years and Epsilon Bootis come from. These 2 details come from the 1970s work of Scottish author Duncan Lunan. Lunan plotted the delay times of 1920s radio echoes into points on a graph. Arranging the points in a certain sequence, he saw a shape resembling a star map and linked it to the Epsilon Bootis star system. The 13,000 years wasn't the age of a piece of metal measured in a lab. The number came from calculating which ancient date in the sky the presumed star map might match. So first it was assumed the delays were a message, then that the message was a map, then that the map showed a specific star. More importantly, Lunan retracted this translation after realizing some of the old records he used were inaccurate. He himself stated that his conclusions regarding Epsilon Bootis were wrong. Moreover, the probe he envisioned wasn't in a polar orbit around Earth like in today's legend. It was associated with the equilibrium regions between the Earth and the Moon. The legend rewrote not just the data, but the creator of the theory as well. The 8th document is actually about the human mind. When turning a sequence of numbers into a shape, choosing the direction, scale, starting point, and which data to use yields many different patterns. Seeing a face in a cloud or an animal in a rock is an everyday example of this same tendency. So, can a craft stay in orbit for 13,000 years? Although the atmosphere in low Earth orbit is very thin, drag exists. Uncontrolled objects eventually lose energy and fall. Staying in higher orbits for a very long time is possible, but solar and lunar gravity, radiation pressure, and collisions still exert an effect. Theoretically, an extraordinarily durable craft, actively adjusting its orbit, could remain. We aren't saying it's impossible. We're saying it isn't proven. This also answers the question, why doesn't NASA just go and take a look? To reach a target, you need consistent orbital data, a tracking number, speed, altitude, and repeated observations. In the Black Knight narrative, no single object provides all of these. Different events from different dates are grouped under the same name. Besides, it's not just NASA watching the skies, but other countries, companies, universities, and thousands of amateur observers as well. Now we come to the final document, the theory's strongest image. December 4, 1998, Endeavour's STS-88 mission begins. The goal is to carry the American-made Unity module into space and connect it to Russia's Zarya module. This is the International Space Station's first major assembly work in orbit. During the spacewalk on December 11, Jerry Ross and Jim Newman are working outside. They are working on cables, connectors, and thermal protective blankets. Meanwhile, one of the blankets breaks loose from its tether and starts floating away. Mission Commander Robert Cabana warns Ross over the radio. One of the thermal blankets drifted away from you. The camera follows that object, spinning in the dark. The famous photo is part of the sequence shot right after it. You will see its code in NASA's archive on screen. STS-088 724-66. The date is December 11th, 1998. Shot with a 250mm lens, it was classified in the archive as space debris. The photo remains accessible in NASA's records today. Why does the object look like a spacecraft? 1. There is no human or fixed object nearby to provide scale. 2. The telephoto lens compresses the distance between the object and Earth. 3. As the thin, crumpled blanket rotates, it forms shapes resembling wings, a fuselage, and an antenna. The side facing the sun gleams, while the side in shadow is pitch black. There is also an orbital contradiction. Legend has it, the Black Knight is in a polar orbit. But STS-88 was in the orbital plane of the International Space Station, which is not a polar orbit. The object photographed near the astronauts was moving in an orbit similar to the shuttles. So the theory's most famous photo doesn't align with its most famous orbital claim. The claim that NASA deleted the photo can also be verified. The photo remains in the NASA archive, complete with timestamp and camera details. Old internet links breaking over time or archive addresses changing doesn't mean the content was destroyed. A dead link isn't the same as hiding an alien satellite. Sometimes the internet is just the internet. The 9 documents now lie separately on the table. Tesla's signals don't indicate the Black Knight. Radio echoes don't point to a satellite. The 1954 news stories have no tracking data. The British rocket merely shares the same name. The 1960 object was explained as Discoverer debris. The Cooper claim does not appear in the mission logs. Lunan retracted his interpretation. The object in the photo strongly matches the thermal blanket reported lost. This doesn't mean there are no mysteries left in the sky. There is still no single model that explains all instances of long-delayed radio echoes. We don't know for sure exactly what Tesla heard. In science, we don't know yet is an answer, and it isn't a weakness. The real question is, when we have an unexplained real event, why do we feel the need to add an unproven spacecraft to it? Maybe there isn't a 13,000-year-old sentinel above Earth, but once a story enters orbit, it can stay up longer than real satellites. The Black Knight may not be a physical satellite, but it is a powerful cultural one. It takes a signal from Tesla, a newspaper headline, a figure from Lunan, a photo from NASA, and raises its orbit a little more with every share. Look again at the black silhouette from the start of the episode. When we first saw it, we didn't know its size, distance, or what it was. Our minds immediately filled in the blanks. Now in the same frame, we also see a spacewalk, the lost thermal blanket, a telephoto lens, and the mission log. The photo didn't change. What changed were the documents we placed beside it. So which do you think is more compelling? The idea of a 13,000-year-old space probe, or the way 9 separate events merged into a single story? I leave you with this question. How many stories we accept as true today might have been stitched together using the exact same method? Share your thoughts and reasons in the comments. This was the 7th file of the Dark Archive. The archive isn't closing. See you in the next file. Thank you so much for sticking with me this far. If you want this file to reach more people, please like the video and subscribe to the Dark Archive. Your support allows us to open the next case with the same care. See you in the next episode. Take care.